Thanks everyone for joining us today for this webinar. Today's topic is hybrid intelligence and how it is making cybersecurity better. My name is Daniel Eickhoff. I have with me Jeff Teitelbaum. Jeff is one of our solutions engineers, and he will be doing the presentation in a minute and the Q&A. But before we dive into that, let me introduce you to our company here real quick. We are Securus 360. We are a managed detection and response company with full service SOC as a service. And we offer a complete MXDR platform. And that means basically we cover all of your vectors. So endpoints, but beyond the endpoints, servers, network, we analyze your users' behavior, we tap into logs from your security devices, we monitor your cloud infrastructure and cloud apps, SaaS apps. So we really give you complete visibility across your entire network. Then we have the full service response that we do. So once we pick up on an alert, we a SOC analyst jumps on it to investigate, verify, contain, and mitigate that threat for our customers. And we do that by using our hybrid platform. And we have the machine learning engine, which allows us to really cut down on the time to detection and to the response on a threat. So we can crunch an enormous amount of data in real time and then jump on it immediately. Then we have our experts in the Security Operations Center that take an alert, investigate further, dig in deeper, and then of course contact the customer and work with them hand in hand on the remediation of that threat. So as we monitor all of your devices, we analyze that security data 3 different ways. We monitor for known threats using rules and signatures. We are monitoring and looking for unknown threats as long as we know the attacker. Of course, we are MITRE ATT&CK optimized. We work with CISA, NIST, and some of the other intel sources. Then where the rubber meets the road, right, is detecting unknown threats from unknown attackers. And that's what our machine learning engine, we have hundreds of machine learning algorithms that are constantly learning your environment, learning what's normal, and then that allows us to pick up anomalies that of course could be potential threats. So that's how we approach this. If there's tons of solutions looking for known threats, even from unknown attackers. There's solutions that can detect very reliably unknown threats as long as we know the attackers, right? But what we do, we look in your blind spot. We focus and we look for what we don't even know that we're looking for. So it's unknown threats from unknown attackers. That's the holy grail, and that's what Securus 360 does with our hybrid platform. Real quick on the pieces of the platform. I don't want to go into much detail here. If you have any questions about our solution, happy to. If we have time at the end, we can talk about it. But I will put up my contact information at the end, and then feel free to reach out to me via email or phone, and we can discuss the solution and see if we can help you. But in 365 SOC, those are the guys that triage the alerts and work with our customers on the response. We have that patented silencer technology, really cool. Long story short, it allows us to make sure we only alert you on the alerts that you need to know about, only on real threats. So we're not gonna pump a ton of false positives your way. Threat hunting, not just making sure no new threats are penetrating and breaching your environment, but we're continuously hunting for threats that are already inside of your environment. Cyber risk scoring, really cool, actually, very powerful tool. shows you how your security posture is developing over time, graphs it out for you. You can compare how you do compared to other organizations. And importantly, the tool gives you actionable information, gives you real recommendations on how specifically what things you can do to improve your cybersecurity posture. It's a really powerful tool. And then of course we are, or not of course, but we are a white glove service, or have that approach. We work hand in hand with our customers the entire from onboarding through the entire length of the partnership. We really want to be an extension of our customers' IT team. uh, they're not alone. We're not just going to throw an alert their way and say, "All right, here you go, good luck." No, we work with them and on all these issues. So just a quick overview. Looking forward to having Jeff talk about hybrid security. But quick note here on the schedule going forward. Next session is in April 20th. Mark your calendar. Topic is going to be ransomware. That's going to be a very interesting topic. Really looking forward to that conversation. So mark your calendars. And with that, I'll pitch it over to Jeff. Also, we will be happy to answer any questions at the end of the Jeff's presentation. So use the Q&A tool in the platform to submit your questions, and then Jeff and I will pick them up there and make sure we get all your questions answered.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining up. My name is Jeff Teitelbaum. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Securus 360, and we'll be talking today about how hybrid intelligence is taking cybersecurity to the next level and what it can do for you to help improve your cybersecurity posture. So, little overview of the agenda for today. We'll discuss briefly about the challenges organizations are facing, how we can bridge that gap between the quick fastness of attack and just getting quick defenses in place in order to keep up with that. What is machine learning? We'll define that a little bit, as well as hybrid intelligence, and learning what's normal behavior versus detecting anomalies. And finally, just bringing it all together, manage extended detection and response, MXDR, really combines the best of both worlds, machine learning powered algorithms paired with the expertise of SOC analysts. So let's break it down a little bit. Here's some main challenges that organizations are facing. There's a large growing digital footprint with little cybersecurity automation. Data requirements are only going up with basically everything, so you need to keep up with that in terms of security. The more things that we add, especially things like IoT devices that weren't designed with security in mind in the slightest, really important to have full visibility of everything that's going on with your network. And a lot of this leads to alert fatigue, where the more things we're adding, more redundancies in place, it's going to generate a lot more alerts as there's more devices and assets on your network that are going to just be vulnerable, or if we're searching for vulnerabilities, it becomes really a really overloading task for small IT teams to go through all these alerts and comb through them, find out what's legitimate and what's not. And lastly, hackers and their methods are always evolving. It's kind of always a cat and mouse game there. Of course, you have the black hat, white hat hackers, that sort of thing, right? But a lot of times there's some bad threats that are being used by the black hat hackers first. So really important to just stay ahead of the curve. And the question you need to ask yourself at the end of the day is, do you have 100% visibility of your entire network? Do you trust your ability to detect a breach if one were to occur? Because just want to mention that a lot of times when systems are compromised, there's data breaches, they can be in there for months. So it's not just about, of course, it's a main focus to remediate immediately when it's detected, but we're not just looking for those things that just happened a second ago. We're looking for things that have been in there for a while as hackers gather more information to further compromise your network. So bringing it down a little further, existing defenses, they're often not enough to detect many threats. Of course, ideally, you want many things in place, like EDR solution. A lot are still using the standard definition-based antivirus, such as Windows Defender or other more third-party solutions. And those are only going to look for known threats. They're not really going to look for behavior. So you need to have some other things coupled with it. Ideally, you have a IDS in your network or IPS. If you host anything, your web application firewalls, things like that. But it's tough to implement all this stuff. So a lot of them, a lot of networks not necessarily up to par in terms of protecting their digital infrastructure. Again, small IT teams, with all this data going back and forth, it's just really tough to investigate and remediate all those threats, especially weeding through false positives. The attackers are typically one step ahead. They attacked you first, right? So gotta be on guard and make sure that you have everything you need in order to thwart that. And the threat can actually return if not remediated properly. You may have seen in the news some things like double or triple extortion, where there were some companies where they actually paid the ransom, which of course you shouldn't do. That just entices cyber criminals to keep doing what they're doing. But there were cases where they paid it and then they didn't remediate it properly, so they just were reinfected again, and another ransom was demanded. And in some cases, that happened to people 2 or 3 times. So definitely want to just really make sure you don't get caught in a position like that. And even if you do, make sure you have solid backups. Definitely do not pay the ransom. See, there's a question. Definitely appreciate that. Keep them coming, and we will address that when we get to the Q&A section. Appreciate your patience. So, hybrid intelligence, bridging the gap between attack and defense. How do you stay one step ahead of these threat actors who are constantly port scanning and looking for vulnerabilities on everyone from all different countries using botnets and things like that? And the answer is machine learning plus a 24/7 SOC gives you hybrid intelligence, leveraging the best of both worlds of IT professionals and, of course, machine learning algorithms. So what is machine learning? Machine learning algorithms analyze patterns of behavior. So again, it's not just simple definition-based solutions, although we can certainly tap into what they're seeing as well. Distinguishing normal behavior from what's anomalous. Whoever your SOC provider is, who has these machine learning algorithms in their backend, it's going to get smarter over time based on becoming used to your environment, getting a little trained to it. As it knows, okay, this is normal behavior for this user on this particular machine, and it's just going to get smarter knowing what's normal, what's not. It's going to reduce a lot of false positives, and that's going to make it a lot easier on everybody by just weeding those out. And you'll never really see the same exact benign alert twice. So if there's a particular application that was executed by a particular user on a particular machine, and an alert was sent out by your SOC provider or your MXDR provider rather, and you said, "Oh no, this is legit. This is part of our typical normal operation." At that point, you're never going to see that alert again. But let's break it down a little further here with an example, because we're looking at a lot of things. We're looking at the user, the machine name. So for a more specific example here, this is one that actually ended up being silenced. So you can see the executable there, and you can see there the switch down at the very bottom is /?. So really the user here was just basically pulling up the help option for whatever this application may be. Now, something like this, depending on what it is, typically not a threat. If it was a unsigned executable or something, may have potentially been thrown. But in this case, the SOC analysts, they still saw this, and they were like, this probably isn't a threat. This isn't something we need to be bothered on. However, if there's a slight difference there, it is going to be a different alert. And that's what we're taking a look at here. where you can see it's very, very similar. However, the user wasn't just asking for, okay, what are the options for this particular installation package? They try to execute it quietly and silently, get the verbose information. So could this just be a user trying to just script and install and streamline that? Certainly. But when the SOC analyst sees this compared to the last one, they said, you know what, better make sure on this one, better safe than sorry. And so this is a case where something would be escalated. Now, if it's you say, no, this is legit, streamlining our operations here, then you're never going to see that alert again. Unless now, if it's a different user or something like that, yeah, that's a different alert. So these are the kind of things that we're looking out for, or your MXDR provider should be looking out for. Let's give another example real quick. So essentially, this is an example of something that would be a benign alert that you ideally should not be bothered on, and something that a lot of solutions out there, especially in the open source world, that don't really have a vendor behind it. This is an example of something that will just you'll be flooded with alerts kind of like this stuff that's really not a big deal, and these are the kind of things that should aim to be silenced. For instance, pulling up a command prompt on a machine and just saying, who am I? Easy command to get the username. Of course, there's other ways to check, but this was one where you would be able to see it in the SOC analyst would still see this, but unless there's other events correlated with this, like kind of a who am I discovery call, then there's some other, I guess for the lack of a better term, sketchy actions in place, some things that would lead to the idea that there's some sort of indication of compromise. At that point, that's going to be escalated. But if there's something like this, it's with no other events tying it, chances are that's going to be benign. But just really wanted to kind of drive home that these are the kind of alerts that you're going to be flooded with if you don't have anything to silence, or if you have a small team trying to weed through all this stuff, looking at what's critical. This kind of paints a picture a little bit. So why hybrid intelligence? And the answer is IT professionals and machines both have their flaws. So they end up complementing each other and working very symbiotically. And machine learning, it was designed to assist the SOC team. It's not there to act fully autonomously. Now there are scenarios where there may be some auto containment depending on the type of implementation. But just want to highlight that it's not. It's meant to be used as an assistive tool, not to just fully drive it with the machine learning acting on its own behalf. And sure, maybe we may get to a point where AI just fully drives everything. We're really not at that point yet. And really you don't necessarily want to be, because think about it, would you board a plane without a pilot? We all kind of heard about the Boeing Max 8 fiasco. So it's bad news when you have the machine kind of thinking it's smarter than the person that should really be in charge. So that's why machine learning and a live SOC team are just so crucial, so that you have the machine learning algorithms as a guideline for the SOC to quickly determine critical threats versus benign, rather than just acting on its own behalf. It will get smarter over time, but for the time being, it's definitely the best way to go, to have humans vetting every single alert, even if it's marked benign, or you didn't get an alert. The SOC analyst still reviewed that and made a decision for every single alert. And it's going to leverage the best of both worlds. Just they work really well together, IT professionals and machine learning, to make their jobs easier. And here's a little background just in terms of how things generally work in terms of the data collection and the silencing with machine learning. So if you look at the left-hand side here, we have users, so user behavior analytics, of course, cloud environments. Pretty much everyone has some sort of cloud involved in this days, even if it's just email. Can tap into email integrations, Office 365, G Suite, APIs or apps, servers and workloads, your network, so your firewall appliances, your core switches, things like that. All that data is going to be crucial because you don't want to leave any blind spots there. You want to grab as much data as you can so that way the events can be correlated. But the first step is really to collect all of these. So collect those. It's going to gather all those into the seam. And then personally, we use Elastic for that. However, your SOC provider may use something different. And from there, it's going to go through it's going to be parsed through the machine learning algorithms. And we are leveraging the MITRE attack chain, as Daniel alluded to earlier, NIST. So we're constantly looking for new threats on the digital landscape. Just to give a brief example, when Log4j came on the scene, our SOC analysts or the dev teams just had to put in rules there to look for that. Lots of people were running Apache web servers, so that was a pretty bad one. So just want to highlight that's generally how this works. Constantly looking for new CVEs that come out and putting rules in place to look for zero-day threats. And the silencing really is what helps quite a bit, because you don't want to be attacked and then you're trying to find a needle in a haystack of what the alert was, where patient 0 was, and how far it spread. A lot of that is essentially done for you on a single pane of glass, so you can just really pinpoint the problem area and remediate it as soon as possible. All right, so we are at the Q&A section. Let's go ahead and take a look and we'll address those.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. That was great stuff. I appreciate it. Yeah, we have a bunch of questions actually, so let's get rolling. I know we're a couple of minutes behind, but we should be able to get all the questions in. Here, question number 1 is, how does hybrid intelligence help in identifying threats that traditional rule-based systems may have missed or may miss?
Oh, yeah, great question. So for that, the answer would be, so we're looking at all the vectors combined. Existing solutions like EDR, they're really kind of focused on one thing. Hybrid intelligence is going to look at all the vectors, both cloud and on-prem, and on top of that, the data is viewed 24/7 by the SOC team and analyzed for every single alert. So it's going to catch things that they miss because it's looking at more things. Your EDR is really just kind of looking at that endpoint. It's not necessarily looking at everything around it. So that would be my answer as far as how that helps compared.
All right, great, thanks. And by the way, if the question didn't get answered to your full satisfaction, if we misunderstood, feel free to just put in a follow-up question. But here's another one: is what's the benefit of using this SaaS in a company that uses whitelisting security protocols?
Oh yeah, good question. So I mean, really, it's going to benefit everyone, whether you're whitelisting or blacklisting. You know, it may be quite locked down there, but you're still going to have attack surfaces. You're still going to have. You still need to look out for your endpoints. You still need to monitor. You still need to monitor your cloud infrastructure, especially if there's VMs or websites hosted there. So you don't want to leave any vectors uncovered. So regardless of what it is, there's going to be some sort of attack surface there. So if you don't have anything looking out for that, for any integrations as far as things you're using, whether on-prem or cloud, that needs to be covered in some fashion. So it is a pretty white glove solution. And anything that anything you're using as far as that whitelisting, we should be able to tap into something and give some kind of monitoring benefit there. So you have a whole other dedicated team looking out for anything that's potentially going to compromise it.
Okay. All right, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Edgar. A good question here from Edgar. How do you work with a customer to ensure the machine learning algorithms are accurate and effective? Or in other words, how does a customer give feedback to improve the results?
Good question. So there's many predefined rules. Every environment's a little different, but there's going to be a phase where machine learning is going to be, for lack of a better term, trained. It's not necessarily going to, it has some learning capabilities, but it's not necessarily going to just fully know your unique environment off the bat. So there is a little bit of a training phase as alerts come in, and you can say, you know, these foreign login alerts or something, we're totally expecting these. We don't need to necessarily be alerted on it every time. However, you know, for if this particular scenario happens or it's from this country, we want to be alerted. So it's going to get smarter over time, but there is a tuning or training phase in which it needs to be kind of taught what is normal behavior, and then it will only get smarter from there as it has more data to reflect on what came prior, and get smarter for decisions in the future based on what's been stated in the past.
Okay, right now we've got 2 more questions, so we have a couple minutes. If any other questions, feel free to plug them in real fast. But this question is, I guess, a little related to the last question. But would you say, question is, Jeff, would you say in your case the main benefit of the machine learning platform is to weed out false positives, or is it to hunt for new unknown threats that existing rules would miss? So yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, so really the answer is both. Threat hunting for unknown threats is definitely a necessity in this day and age. Again, can't really just rely on definition-based stuff like in the past. But so my answer would be we make the security, or an MXDR provider would make the security solutions work in tandem with each other, not just looking at isolated vectors. So it's imperative to combine all of these. So with the benefit of machine learning and silencing, the alert may exist in your non-machine learning based solution, but it's likely not going to be able to be very easy to find, finding a needle in a haystack. So you really kind of need both. I wouldn't say one is necessarily more important than the other. They both work hand in hand, just like machine learning with the SOC analysts work very well hand in hand.
Okay, here's a very interesting question. Just came in. So do you have any access to clients' data? That's definitely, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can answer that. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be some data, right? It's not direct access, it's just what's being fed. So, you know, as you can see, certain events such as that who am I call example. So, I mean, we're going to see events like that, but it's not like there's unfettered access to, you know, all the files or anything like that. No, we're just taking the security related events that are necessary, whether it's syslogs or tapping into a API of some sort, but it's not unfettered access or anything like that. You know, we're typically just getting that information that's fed. And if there's any concerns there over the type of data or anything, we're more than happy to put those concerns at rest.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, that was a good question. Last question. All right. Kind of a tactical question, I guess. Question is, at what time does the SOC analyst get involved, before or after the customer was alerted to a threat?
Okay, so I mean, technically the SOC is involved from the very get-go. I mean, they're gonna typically see that alert first. So since they're constantly analyzing that, but the customer has the option to either handle it on their own or request additional remediation assistance from the SOC. And and there may be cases where the SOC is going to be involved either way. But in the case of, just to give an example of how our EDR would work, the threat could even be auto-contained, depending on the particular scenario. And even if that transpires at 3 a.m. while you're sleeping, the SOC is still going to generate an alert and let you know, hey, this threat was contained, but we wanted to make sure you're aware of it, that it's remediated properly. Let us know. We'll jump in if need be, and we'll help you take care of this as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. That was awesome. Thanks everyone for the very good questions. If there are no other questions, we'll call it at this time. Thank you again for everyone for your time. It was great to have you. And yeah, quick reminder, next month, April 20th, ransomware, very loaded topic. So looking forward to that. Again, thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. And here our contact information. Feel free to, we'll leave that up for a second. Take that down if you want to reach out for any follow-up questions for Jeff on the tech side, or if you want to take a look at our solution for your organization, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.